Hi everyone, I am Chatter Yodhenakun and this is about my final research of MSc in Cybersecurity and Forensics. So, this is a conceptual framework comes with the topic detection and prevention of crypto ransomware. The project was done with the supervision of Mr. Sudhir Ahuarachji.
Over the past few years, ransomware has become one of the biggest cyber scams to hit businesses. Ransomware is a malicious software that allows a hacker to restrict access to an individual's or company's vital information in some way and then demands some form of payment to lift their restriction. The most common form of restriction today is encryption of important data on the computer or network, which essentially lets the attacker hold user data or a system hostage. The ramifications of a successful attack are far more extensive than just the cost of the ransom. Organizations can suffer lost productivity, loss of business, inconvenience to customers and potentially the permanent loss of data. Constant ransomware attacks achieve to evade multiple security perimeters, because its strategy is based on the exploitation of users, the weakest link in the security chain, getting high levels of effectiveness. Various approaches continually being proposed to combat malware, but the dynamic nature of the malware often bypasses the security checkpoints. Proposed AI-based ransomware detection tool uses hybrid analysis in a ML framework and is based on behavioral chains. Malware comprises several types of families with different attack motivations. Ransomware seems to be one of the family that gives great impact towards business and organization. Ransomware is defined as infections to the computer systems by restricting users' access to the infected system and request specific amount of ransoms to be paid to regain the access. Ransomware is mainly categorized into two, locker and crypto. Both have different method of attack. As for locker, it uses scareware to generate payment by locking the screen. It infects and displays a message notifying the machine has been compromised by law enforcement or any authorities and demand for ransom. Crypto involves the encryption of victims' files or data with variety of encryption methods. Then, it will notify victims about the file or data encryption and demand for ransom to be paid. With the emergence of user-generated content such as social media, forum, blogs and online news, there is huge volume of textual data which could be used to gain insight. As in malware domain, people start to use this platform to discuss on their experience, problem and knowledge related to malware. However, textual data normally in the form of unstructured or semi-structured data which could not be used directly as knowledge representation. The objective of this paper is to propose a conceptual scheme of constructing background knowledge in identifying ransomware information from unstructured data such as forum. The concept proposed aims to construct the background knowledge of ransomware which can be used to increase the accuracy in extracting ransomware-related entity from unstructured data. However, this study still in the identification phase where several crypto ransomware entities are manually identified and to investigate how they find their targets, proper framework to detect and prevent crypto ransomware attacks. Ransomware operators have earned millions from crypto ransomware attacks during 2019 and 2020, and these are in the top of the ransomware operator teams in this era. Building up ransomware decryption mechanism will take more than years. Introducing a proper method to detect and avoid these types of attacks will be much more effective. As well as suggesting a proper algorithm for detect and avoid crypto ransomware attacks will be more advantageous for the IT infrastructure engineers. The aim of this research framework is to present a crypto ransomware detection and prevention system using AI and ML-based technologies. Two questions-based surveys were conducted and an interview also conducted with industry professional to gather knowledge before creating the framework. Works related to this domain also referred after analyzing the data gathered the framework was decided. All the drawbacks and gaps of the existing ransomware prevention systems were mentioned in previous chapters, and this new detection framework will address most of them and prepared to minimize the mistakes. And this framework has mainly 4 components. First component is real-time monitoring and scanning. Second component is hybrid reverse engineering and data analysis. Third component is proactive machine learning techniques, which is doing the data processing part. Fourth one is the final stage, which do the classification. When talking about these components, the first component is real-time monitoring and scanning. The crypto ransomware detection system identifies all the incoming and outgoing files, codes that are being passing in the network. This can be done through real-time, on-demand and ad hoc scanning methods. If an incident such as device slowness, application misbehavior, encryption happened, it gets identified through the real-time scanning. There can be malicious items stored in the digital devices before the detection system introduced to the system. Then the detection system will run scans and locate all the files stored and transferring in the network. These files can be a virus or normal file. After locating these files, the files are sending to the analyzing engine to further analyze and identify malicious and non-malicious contents. Hackers are using these ransomwares and other viruses to steal organizational information, personal information, account details, account logins, financial information, etc. These files can be stored inside your network for more than years without activation. But some human activities have the capability of activating these malicious files stored inside digital devices. It is important to scan and identify these malicious files stored inside devices. After locating the files that might be a normal file or else ransomware file, these files are submitting to the reverse engineering and data analyzing section. Before moving to that section, there are some prerequisites to be enabled in end devices or the network. Give access to analyze files in binary level. Review and accepts policies and laws. The main objective of this real-time monitoring and scanning is to identify a ransomware attack before it makes damages or an incident inside digital devices or the network. Reverse engineering and the data analysis part is happening in this section. After location files, these files should analyze closely to get further details. The reverse engineering is the best weapon of identifying ransomware attacks, and this is the process of examining in detail a file, could be a web application or a software product, in order to detect their hidden features or vulnerabilities or the behavioral patterns. For the reverse engineering to execute, the program or the file must be a completed one. And it is using very special methods and technologies. Reverse engineering will cover a large area which includes disassembling, decompiling and analyzing systems data of executable files. The main part of reverse engineering is to gain the native code of the program or files and to determine the behavior of the program. In the beginning, it will discover all the basic elements such as CPU architecture, assembly languages. Then moving to the native codes, other executable formats, etc. Basically, reverse engineering can be divided into 2 main categories. Static reverse engineering. Static reverse engineering or the static analysis is the process of analyzing files binaries without running the code in actual scenarios. This is usually performing by using the signatures or the hash values that are specific to the particular binary file. The reverse engineering of particular binary file can be done by uploading its executables to a disassembling environment. So, the tool will convert the executable code to assembly language code. The assembly language is easy to identify by machine learning components, even the 2 human. So, then it is easy to understand the capability of the particular program or the file. Dynamic reverse engineering. Dynamic reverse engineering or the dynamic analysis is the process that analyzing the file's binaries by running or executing the program codes. Basically, this observing the behavior of programs and processors. For this method there should be a system that is created in isolated environment, sandboxing, to stop spreading the malwares while executing. The dynamic analysis is completely based on behavior. For this a debugger should use when executing source codes and monitor all the important behaviors without missing any. Dynamic analysis has the capability of identifying registry changes, instructions tracers, memory writes, systems and network calls etc. This phase suggesting a hybrid-level reverse engineering technique which combines both static and dynamic analyzing methods. That means this framework have the ability to analyze files and processes based on signatures and their behavioral patterns. Then it is very hard to bypass the analysis by a ransomware file because these files are analyzing using these both methods. The next component of the proposed framework is analyzing using proactive machine learning techniques. Machine learning is a part of artificial intelligence AI and computer science. Basically, this is focusing on algorithms and data to impersonate with the accuracy. Machine learning techniques has the ability to learn from data and patterns and then to make decisions with minimum human intrusion. Algorithms in machine learning can be mainly divided into two groups. Supervised machine learning can used for predict the future using previously identified and labeled data. And unsupervised machine learning is using when there is no pre-labeled or classified set of data. To get more accurate outputs, it is possible to combine these supervised and unsupervised machine learning categories and create another category. This hybrid category is known as semi-supervised machine learning. It has the ability to handle supervised data and unsupervised data at once. Machine learning uses some of the principles in statistics and computer science to create models to discover data patterns and to make accurate predictions using the data in past. Artificial intelligence will focus on programming computers to make decisions based on ML models. In this section, proactive machine learning techniques uses several types of ML techniques and components to process data. This model is proposed to analyze patterns related to files, processes and locations. For the multi-level coding analysis, components such as natural language processing, NLP, were proposed to use. Natural language processing, NLP, is a part of AI which helps to computers to understand and interpret human language. It has the ability of filling gaps between computer understanding and human communications. Categorization of content, modeling and discovery of topics, summarization of topics, language translation, recognition of speech and classification of texts are some of the capabilities of NLP. Term frequency, inverse document frequency, TF-IDF, is one of techniques used in NLP. TF-IDF is a statistical degree that evaluates how applicable a word is to a document in a set of files. This is executed via multiplying metrics, how frequently a phrase appears in a document, and the inverse report frequency of the word across a set of documents. N-gram is one of the easiest concepts in ML, and this means a sequence of n words. Use when calculating and using probability. These technologies can be used when creating the features database or the pattern dictionary. And this dictionary can be making use in the classification step. Apart from these technologies, data mining techniques also can use for the data processing part. Association rules in data mining can be used as to find the probability of relationships, patterns between large datasets. Frequent pattern growth algorithm, FP growth, is a better improvement of a priori algorithm. This algorithm generates the database in a form of tree known as FP tree, frequent pattern tree. And this algorithm is very efficient. The other techniques that can be used for multi-level code processing is using behavior chain processing. In this section it is required to analysis ransomware behavioral chains using proper experiments. Pattern dictionary can be made using both data mining techniques and behavioral chain techniques. Processed data results and all the patterns obtained from DM association rules or behavioral chains are storing inside this pattern dictionary, so that it is easy to refer from the next component which is responsible for the classification. The classification is responsible for the classification of normal files and ransomware files. Basically, classification is kind of process that predicts the category or the class of a given data stream. For this, proposing to use machine learning classifier technology. Machine learning classifier is an algorithm that has the ability of automatically categorize or order data into classes. There are several types of predefined supervised machine learning classifiers algorithms such as naive Bayes, k-nearest neighbors, support vector machines, logistic regression, random forest, AdaBoost etc. After the classification, identified ransomware patterns can be stored in a separate database for future usage. This is a summarization of a comparison between the proposed framework and the related works. This is a summarization of a comparison between the proposed framework and the related works. This new crypto ransomware detection and prevention framework will be able to protect the industry for more than 5 years from ransomware attacks. But with the vast growth of technology, there can be new techniques that might helpful to use for detections of ransomware. And the attackers will find a technology to bypass these types of detection and prevention models. And this framework is only focusing on identifying ransomware attacks. Attacks also modifying their source codes and attack techniques. Therefore, it is required to do changes to this framework in future. The technologies should not be limited to crypto ransomware. There are many numbers of malwares that can do harmful damages to environment. And this framework can be improving to identify other versions of malwares and protect environment. So, the proposed framework can assist malware detection researchers and analysts at security and antivirus companies. Code analysis process, identification, feature analysis, standard signature creation and intelligent interpretation can be automated by this tool. AI component helps to automate the task of identifying new zero-day exploits and malware. This can be used as a standalone malware monitoring, analysis and detection tool or in combination with others. The framework will be the first of its kind demonstrating the analysis and detection with explainable AI, leveraging advances in reverse engineering and application of AI techniques.